Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too. Continuing with my Dharma tributaries to the various gurus and teachers that influenced me early on in the late 60s and early 70s. And of course, Ram Dass was one of my teachers, and one day I'll just do a whole week of Ram Dass stuff. I could do weeks of Ram Dass stuff. But his main connection was Neem Karoli Baba, also known as Maharaji. And he was taught originally by Hari Das Baba, a silent sage who only used a chalkboard and who eventually migrated to the United States and began the Mount Madonna Center out in California. So they both have really interesting teachings to share, kind of cryptic in a certain way, but also important for understanding the training that Ram Dass was getting and how it filtered through to the United States. Now, Neem Karoli Baba was famous for saying, "Love, serve, and remember." That was the way he wanted Ram Dass to understand how to be a devotional person and take the teachings back to the United States. So one of the first things I like about Maharaji is saying, "I am everybody's guru." See, because the guru is a principle, it has nothing to do with a human being. We used to say in the Iyengar tradition that the guru is consciousness, and the master is the invisible asana, the ideal form that you're pursuing that maybe you never get to, but it keeps aspiring you to go further in your refinement and development of your craft. Another thing that was important is the understanding of the romanticizing of the idea of the guru, that you have to have a guru. And Neem Karoli Baba says it's not necessary to meet your guru on the physical plane, because the guru is not external to begin with. So if you're looking for something outside yourself, even though sometimes it seems to appear in the form of a human being, but it's beyond that. And he says the guru knows you even if you don't know the guru, because the guru is consciousness. And to realize oneself as consciousness requires some shifting, some understanding of non-attachment to your own ego, as you'll see when Hari Das Baba gives some of his teachings. So the main thing that Neem Karoli Baba was sharing with people was to see God in everyone. Like Mahatma Gandhi says, if you don't meet God in the next person, no sense in looking any further. See God in everyone. And if you do that, you don't teach any more from individual differences in karma. You go through or beyond that to see the universal principles that apply to everybody. So I love that idea. And also, he wasn't afraid of embracing the things that most people don't want to embrace. He once had a student who said, "Do you like joy or sorrow?" And the student said, "Maharaji, I've never known joy, I've only known sorrow." And he says, "Well, I love sorrow because it brings me closer to God." And that's the way we morph into understanding how pain creates dispassion. It makes you want to look for something else. And that's one of the main teachers of Hari Das Baba, who was a householder yogi himself. He had a wife and family. So he's always talking about the importance of negative attachment versus positive detachment. Yes, you're working for your family and friends. You're involved with your job. You're involved with other aspects of relatedness to people.
Call from
Calls coming in.
Anto.
It's funny, we have to keep it. I'm here in my wife's office, so like we'll keep that in the...
Call from
We're not gonna,
Anto.
right, we're not going to get rid of that. I'll be non-attached to the sound. Don't think it's going to make a bad recording as a result of that. So the idea is you get non-attached or detached as a result of facing the conflict in human life, and you see what happens when you get attached, and your egocentric approach to things distorts your perception. So the first thing you learn is, how do I remove the egocentric perception? Well, first you have to not be as attached as you were, thins your ego down, and then of course you work on the yogic path. The whole idea of doing yamas and niyamas, some of you have heard me say this before, but the idea that the rajasic and tamasic tendencies, the tendencies that spin your wheels and make you do things in a kind of hectic and frantic manner, aggression, trying to make everything happen for you, win, turn everything into yourself, become a ravenous winner, and then the tamasic qualities, the dullness, the laziness, the darkness, the the closing your eyes, the not wanting to know, the ignorance aspect of yourself, they're so predominant for most people that when you start practicing yoga, the sattvic tendencies don't have a chance to really illuminate your life because the other tendencies are dominating. So practicing the yamas and niyamas shifts the valences, and all of a sudden now there's more light in your life, more clarity in your life, more of a tendency to let go of attachments because now you've experienced the negative qualities that are associated with attachment. The other thing is to remember about your own dealing with mortality. We all have impressions from the past, it's called samskaras, and one of the main things in the Yoga Sutras is abhinavesha, fear of death and clinging to life. The practices are supposed to help you focus on oneself, with a capital S, the deep essence of oneself, the impersonal aspect, as pure light. That's one of the things that's going to help you at the moment of your death, according to the yoga teachings. To the extent that you haven't concentrated on this, things are much more confusing and likely to spiral out of control. And in fact, when you're dying, you don't have any control. So can you learn to focus through your practice on the pure light? That's their suggestion, at least. And then it reminds you that even when you're with people, and if you haven't had this experience, maybe you will, who are dying, you don't know how to act. It's kind of strange. Should I pray for them? If I'm chanting a mantra while I'm in them, is it going to do them any good? I really like that. And here's his great response for that. He says, if a person is dying, sorry, got my notes here. If I'm saying a healing mantra besides the bed of someone who's dying, is that helping the person who's dying, or is it simply helping me, or both? And his response is, it's helping to keep your mind in a positive state, number one. So it's helping the dying person as well, because your positive state of mind is reaching out to the other person. So I always think about that, you know, when you're born, as Dylan says, who isn't being born is busy dying. So all of us are facing the terminal prognosis. So when you meet people, you know, hidden behind the outer mask is the fear, the clinging to life and the letting go of death. So when you think positively with them in the same way, it keeps you in a positive state of mind and it reaches them in some way. So we all have this obligation to look at each other and realize here's a person who's kind of dying, even though they might be really young and robust and healthy, and maybe another 50, 60, 70 years before they actually do die. But do you understand what I'm saying metaphorically? You understand the human predicament, you feel for the other person, and you wish them well. Every time somebody says something negative about another person, I immediately salute the spirit in them, and in the astral world that I create, I say, okay, me and all the other people who are praying for other people, we're already sending out grace waves, we're already trying to make the transition as easy as possible, already trying to minimize the amount of suffering that they have to go through, and help them along the way. So, thanks to Neem Karoli Baba, who reminds you that the Guru is everywhere, in everyone. You just have to awaken to see where it is. And Haridas Baba, develop dispassion. Do it before you have to have pain or terrible negative experiences to wake you up. And hold things lightly and wish well for everybody. Serve them all.